Believe in Bigfoot? Dogman? Any cryptid? Are you skeptical?
Curious about the supernatural, conspiracy theories, the unknown? Then come join us as we explore facts, tall tales, and encounters on Creatures and Curiosities.
Hello and welcome to Creatures and Curiosities. I'm David.
And I'm Jake.
And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about this weird little creature called a Pukwudgie.
Yeah.
Now, I had never heard of a Pukwudgie before. When we were doing some research on other things, we came across the Pukwudgie, and I thought, that's an interesting little creature. So let's do an episode.
And kind of scary, yeah.
Yeah, and he is kind of scary. Well, the lore is scary. So let's just jump right into this description of the Pukwudgie. He's a humanoid creature that is typically bipedal, and he's generally described as being between about 2 to 3 feet tall and having an enlarged nose, elongated fingers, and long, sharp ears. His skin is often described as being gray in color, and some have said it even can glow, which is kind of weird, but glowing gray skin. They have a thick coat of hair that resembles porcupine quills, and particularly down their backs. And of course, when I'm reading the description, I immediately thought of the chupacabra that you saw with those quill type, thick, sharp.
It's like armor plating on its back almost.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. I don't know, protective layer of some kind?
Yeah, must be. I don't know. But these guys are said to look almost identical to a porcupine. However, I did see, now in this particular description, it says they have an enlarged nose, and I did see some people have described the nose as like the snout of a dog or a wolf.
Yeah.
So when they're saying large nose, I don't know if that incorporates the mouth or if it's a large nose like you would see on a leprechaun or a gnome.
Yeah, I was thinking almost like a little goblin or something.
Yeah. And these have actually been described as little goblins.
Perfect.
Yeah. I would say that the general description is pretty much the same all the time on the Pukwudgie. So the word Pukwudgie actually translates to person of the wilderness. And this is in the Algonquin language. The particular Native American tribes that belong to the Algonquin people, they're the ones that gave him this name. The behavior and or the characteristics of a Pukwudgie are different based on different lores, but they're typically portrayed as being very mischievous. They can also be downright malicious. While they're initially believed to be friendly, they're now said to have turned against humans and are best left alone. Now, that is going to be in the Wampanoag lore. In other lores, they're still somewhat friendly little guys. Pukwudgies are known to play nasty tricks on people. They follow them, causing them great trouble. And they've even been known to kidnap and or kill people.
It's always the little guys
It's It's kind of like the gnome episode,
yeah,
right?
that's what I was thinking.
And if you think about all these little water spirit babies, you've got the little people of the Priors, you've got all these different cultural little people. And they're all basically mean.
They're terrors.
Little terrorists.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're always portrayed as having spears and things and little sharp teeth, back to the trilogy of terror thing that I was talking about. And yeah, I find these little people they could be terrifying. Now, if they were like the good little gnome that helps you out in the barn, aside from the fact that he may kill and skin your cat or something.
Right.
Because
which, it's fine.
It happens. These little guys don't help you. And as we get into this lore, you're going to see how and why they got ticked off at people. And that's the fun part about the lore of this particular.
I'd be all for having a little helper. I got so many chores that...
Exactly. If he'd take care of the horses for me and clean
pull
out
some
the
weeds
barn
or something,
I'd be glad to give him a Pop-Tart or whatever he wants. But no, they're running around the porch, breaking all your stuff, tapping on windows,
skinning your cat, flipping you off.
Flipping you off. Then I don't want them. Little Pukwudgies are known to shapeshift, often into animals like a porcupine. a cougar or a bear, or sometimes into like this half troll, half human form. And they're known to possess various magical abilities, including the ability to disappear and reappear, and to create fire or like light orbs out of thin air.
The disappearing and reappearing is probably the scariest ability. Because you imagine
That's
seeing
up
that
there.
You imagine seeing it with a spear and like a little blade on its belt. I don't know, they probably don't have belts, but and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
And then it's behind you.
yeah.
Yeah, shoving that spear in your back or something. They're a terrifying little thing. I've seen the pictures of what a Pukwudgie's supposed to look like.
Right, yeah, same.
And they are very trollish. They usually have like a beer belly or something, a little gut that hangs over.
It's probably from eating people.
It's probably from meat people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or children.
Yeah, children.
Well, I mean, not that children aren't people, but they like to kidnap kids.
Yeah.
And as we get into the lore, you'll see why. They can use their magic in mischievous ways, making humans forget things like why they're in the forest. And they confuse them with their powers, often making them feel suicidal. Now, the lore kind of talks about the fact that they used to lure people to like cliffs and push them over. They've also been known that just by looking at them, if they stare at you, they can bring harm your way. And so when I kind of looked into, well, what kind of harm are they talking about? By staring at a Pukwudgie, they can kind of like control your mind, make you feel like you need to jump off the cliff. And so a lot of unexplained deaths that we're going to get into, they attribute to the potential of a Pukwudgie getting into somebody's mind and they commit suicide. And or they've been pushed off. I mean, you can't ask them, they're dead.
Right.
So they don't you don't know if they were pushed or if there was some form of mind control. But Pukwudgies are known to be able to control your thoughts. That in of itself is terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
They are known to use small knives and spears, as well as like throwing sand in your eyes or shooting poison arrows at their intended victims. Their behavior typically differs by region within the Algonquin lore. And so I was going to go over just briefly because we're going to stick with just the southern New England Pukwudgie because that's the most fun story. But just so people understand, there's Pukwudgies throughout these different regions. So the Great Lakes, they have Pukwudgies. And that, as we've discussed in other lores, is part of the Ojibwe or the Chippewa Indians. These guys are mischievous, but they're not evil. They like to play tricks on humans, but they're not mean-spirited about it. So they're more like a practical joker.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they like to do things that are teasing in nature versus harmful in nature. And so, according to the Ojibwe, they're not typically afraid of a Pukwudgie. They're just an annoyance. And then moving over into like northern New England and southeastern Canada, there's the Abenaki. They believe their little Pukwudgies cover parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and the southeastern parts of Canada like Quebec and Ontario. And these Pukwudgies are mostly harmless. However, they can be dangerous if a person shows them disrespect.
And again, okay with that too.
So you're kind of getting into the gnome thing.
Yeah.
Right? You got a gnome out in your barn and you feed him, you take care of him. You don't put up lights and make a lot of noise and do things that would typically irritate a gnome. He treats you good and helps you out.
Yeah.
As soon as you disrespect his environment,
it's game over.
It's game over. Next thing you know, he's eating your koi fish and trying to kill you. Then we'll move into the southern New England area. Now, these are the ones that we're going to be talking about. So the Wampanoag tribes, they believe that these little Pukwudgies play dirty tricks on people, and they'll make your life miserable for absolutely no reason at all. Now, these Pukwudgies are generally in the areas of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Now, I've been to those states, and I haven't seen any Pukwudgies, but I am heading back to Boston in about a month, maybe 2, something like that. And I'm going to look for Pukwudgies.
Yeah.
there's areas now that I know to go to in order to see them. Might be the mistake of a lifetime.
Might be.
May not come home.
Just get evidence of it.
That's what I'm going to try and
do.
do.
When we recover your body, we know that.
Snap pictures while I'm getting shot with poison arrows.
Yeah.
So these dirty little Pukwudgies are known to steal your children and kill people. They've even been said to sabotage large groups of people into like deadly traps. Most of the time, what I've read regarding that when they're taking groups of people was they would lead them into things like bear caves, cliffs. Not that there's quicksand, but that would be like an example. So they're going to hop around and do whatever they do to get you to follow them. And then they're going to lead you to some perilous thing that you're most likely going to die or be attacked or something bad is going to happen to you. And so this is the type of little Pukwudgie you don't want to mess with, right? A lot of the things that I've read is that if you ever do come across a Pukwudgie, leave him alone and don't follow him. Because if he is trying to lure you, he's luring you for a bad reason. If it's just a trickster, like if you're up in the Great Lakes, he might be the kind that's going to come into your campground and poop in your
in your shoe or something.
In your shoe, and giggle, in the forest while you slip it on.
How hard would it be though if you saw one not to follow it?
You'd have to.
Yeah. And that's probably what happens.
That's the lure.
Because you go, what is that?
What is that? You think it's a porcupine or something, carrying a spear.
Yeah.
And then, you follow the darn thing, and next thing you know, you're falling to your death off a cliff that you didn't realize was even there, but he knew. So they're not to be messed with, is the bottom line. So location-wise, not that we didn't basically just go over the location, but to get a little more specific, Pukwudgie is typically found in Delaware, Prince Edward Island, parts of Indiana, and Massachusetts. So they're pretty much spread out. For the purposes of this podcast, we're just going to focus on the Pukwudgies located in the infamous Bridgewater Triangle. Now, the Bridgewater Triangle is an area about 200 square miles within the southeastern Massachusetts area. It incorporates areas such as Raynham, Taunton, the Freetown, Fall River State Forest, and the Hockomock Swamp. The point of the triangle points like north up through Massachusetts and comes down to the base at the southern end, and it incorporates many cities. These are just, the reason I named these ones is because we actually have accounts of sightings that we'll go over in those particular areas. Now, that Hockomock Swamp, that area is, it's named Hockomock Swamp by the Algonquin people, and it stands for where spirits dwell. It was a known Indian burial ground, and it's also the area believed where the Pukwudgies originated. I don't even know how they were created. I never got into, how did a Pukwudgie actually come about? But the Hockomock Swamp is where they were said to have been and lived. The triangle is known for paranormal activity such as Bigfoot and ghosts and goblins and obviously Pukwudgies and UFO sightings and orbs and you name it, they've seen it. There's multiple books written on it. There's paranormal investigators that spend an entire career just in that Bridgewater Triangle area. I think later on in the episode when we're going over explanations, I think there's a pretty good explanation as to why those types of things are seen there.
Yeah.
But we'll go over that later on. So moving into the origin story of the Pukwudgie. Now, again, this is the story told by the Wampanoag people, and I found this to be the most fun story, most fascinating, and so that's why I wanted to do this particular area of South New England.
Yeah.
It's just way more fun than the Great Lakes and whatnot. So the Pukwudgie was a magical little creature that originated in the Hockomock Swamp, and that was an area known for its spiritual activity. The Pukwudgie coexisted with the Wampanoag tribes, and they even tried to help them, but the people didn't really want their help. They were kind of misunderstood. the little Pukwudgie.
Yeah.
Kind of like a gnome, people were more terrified of it or didn't like the fact that it was doing something. So you try and get rid of it and then it just makes them evil. And I think that's kind of what we're dealing with here is that the Wampanoag people, they did coexist with these little things, but they were always pulling some little prank or doing something silly. And even though they were trying to help them,
They just got fed up with it.
they got fed up. They got ticked off at these little guys. So over time, the little Pukwudgies became angry with the people because they became quite malicious. They started stealing their food, throwing sand at them, and just pulling little nasty pranks on the people. So the Pukwudgie became increasingly jealous over a relationship between the Wampanoag people and a cultural hero that was named Mashop. Now, Mashop was a giant. And when I say giant, I'm not talking a 10-foot, 20-foot tall guy. I'm talking giant.
Yeah.
Like this thing is a massive, massive creature. And he served as this deity to the people. He was credited with actually creating what's now known as Cape Cod. So I guess he laid down, made an impression, the waters came in and the mountain ranges and stuff were formed by him laying down. So that's how big he is, right? So we're talking a giant of massive proportion. And he was basically a god to them. Mashop was married to a woman by the name of Granny Squannet, and they had 5 children, all boys. The Wampanoag people loved him dearly as he was their caretaker and provider. They would go to him for a lot of things, whether it be assistance with food or medical things or just advice, much as we would pray to God.
Right.
That they would pray to him, basically. So the people became extremely annoyed by these little Pukwudgies. So they go to Granny Squannet to ask her for advice on how to handle the little mischievous behavior of these Pukwudgies. So Granny tells them, I'll tell you what, go round up every Pukwudgie that you can find and bring them to Mashop, and we'll figure this out. So the people did what she asked. They take all these little Pukwudgies to Mashop, and Mashop's opinion on this was, why don't we just get rid of them? So instead of killing them, though, he grabs them in his giant hands and he holds them like he would hold a pair of dice. He shakes these little guys so violently that they all pass out. And he throws them with everything he's got into different directions. And because he's such a giant and they were tiny, these tiny little creatures, he chucks them quite a ways.
Right.
Some landed throughout New England, while others landed as far away as the Great Lakes. So that's a long way to fly through the air, this passed out little Pukwudgie. Now, the idea that Mashop had here was that they would never be able to band back together as a group, and they would most likely not be able to find their way back to the area where they lived in the little Hockomock swamp. Well, he was wrong. Little Pukwudgies, they were smarter than he thought. They did regroup. They did find their way back. And now the little Pukwudgie hated the people so much for what they did that they swore vengeance on both them and Mashop and his family. Which
is what you would do.
Yeah, you kind of understand it.
Yeah. We were trying to help out. We're joking with you guys, and then you chuck us halfway across the world after you shook us and gave us a bunch of TBIs.
Yes. Exactly. So what used to just be funny tricks was now going to lead to death and misery for the people.
Absolutely.
They started kidnapping children. I guess, it's fitting, right?
Yeah.
You did this to us. We're
going to get you back. Yeah.
We're going to get you back. And how do you hurt somebody? How do you hurt an adult?
Yeah.
You mess with their kids.
There it is.
That's what they did. They kidnapped the children, and they never let those kids see their families again. So they'd find people lost in the woods, and they'd lead them to their death rather than help them find their way back home. They'd walk them literally into bear caves and off cliffs and things of that nature. And so people started realizing that these little Pukwudgies are just evil little creatures. These little guys would even go so far as to burn down their entire village. just to torture them and kill as many people as they possibly could. Now, they had this score to settle with the Wampanoag people, and so the Wampanoag said, they cried out to Mashop, help us. Something's got to change here. These little guys have gone from tricksters to little serial killers.
Yeah.
So Mashop, feeling like, he didn't really need to get involved. He's the big guy on campus. He's going to send his kids to take care of these Pukwudgies. So he sends all 5 sons, says, go dispatch these little things. We're not going to shake them up and throw them. Just kill them.
Yep.
They've outserved their purpose, and they're such an annoyance. It's time to just delete them off the face of the earth. But the Pukwudgies were ready for it.
Yeah.
And so they end up luring these 5 boys into the tall grass, and then just by sheer numbers, they attack these boys with their spears and poison arrows, and they just brutally kill these.
You got to wonder
kids.
how big the boys are.
Yeah, and I never saw.
Right.
It was Granny Squannet a normal sized, and was she mortal or was she some goddess? I didn't see that. When I say I didn't see it, I actually didn't look. It could be, if we were to look at it, they could get into, were the boys giants or were they normal size? Were they mortal? Were they supposed to be spiritual? I don't know.
You would have to assume that she would be giant too, because, how would that work out?
Yeah.
Not to get into it,
but my mind just went to a very dirty place.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's got to be pretty good size.
She's got to be a big gal.
Big gal.
All right.
So anyway, the news of the boys being murdered get back to Mashop, and he, of course, like any father would, go on a rampage.
Absolutely.
Killed my sons. That's the end of
Everybody's
this.
dying. Yeah.
So Mashop and Granny Squannet went to kill every last Pukwudgie, and though they killed several, they were overrun by the Pukwudgies, and Mashop and Granny ended up succumbing to fatal wounds, which you have to ask yourself, if he's a deity, how did he die?
And you would also have to assume that he's able to transform into an average-sized person.
Something.
Because if he's big enough to make Cape
Cod on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so they didn't come up with the best story, probably, because there's a lot of holes you could shoot through this. But that's the story.
That's the story.
So Mashop, being a giant god, basically, succumbs to mortality and dies.
Yeah.
Now, it's not 100% that Granny was killed, but Granny doesn't live on, because the lore goes on to say that it was a great loss to the Wampanoag people, and now only the legend of the Pukwudgie remains. And so I would think that if you had a goddess, Granny Squannet, who survived this attack, that she would still be part of the legend as well.
Right.
But she and Mashop just die off into Never Never Land, and only the Pukwudgie remains. So my assumption is they were both killed.
Yeah.
The lore doesn't specifically state that, but it has to be.
Has to be. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. So that is the origin story behind the Pukwudgie. They're these little magical creatures like a gnome or a fairy would be. They were little tricksters. They were so disappointed by the fact that the people were annoyed by them that they end up having to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So, I get it, but there it is. That's the story of the Pukwudgie. Now, I did see on one particular site, somebody made the comment that no Pukwudgie has ever actually been seen. And that's not true.
Yeah.
I found multiple sightings.
Which we're going to go over here shortly. Yeah.
Which is what we're going to dive into next. And the first one that you're going to cover is probably the most credible. And I only say that because this guy went out. He's done interviews. He's been on shows. He's an older gentleman. He has nothing to gain by it. Didn't make millions off of it. Just watching the interview with him, he seemed very legitimate. So the other ones, I haven't seen any actual coverage on, or they haven't come out and gone public, like as far as interviews and videos. But we're gonna touch on several sightings here. But if you want to handle that first one, this one I think is a credible story.
Yeah. So in 1990, Bill Russo. He lived in Raynham, Massachusetts, in that Bridgewater Triangle area. And he was working the late shift at the Raynham Ironworks, and he usually got home around about midnight. Now, Russo always walked his dog. His dog's name was Samantha, which was about an 80-pound Rottweiler Shepherd mix, which I got to throw in there. That was our old dog. So I'm assuming just this gorgeous-looking dog that listens really well because both those dogs are pretty smart.
Yeah, and of course he said that this dog wasn't afraid of anything.
Right. So yeah, he gets home, to take Samantha for a walk. And Russo said that Raynham was a small town and everybody went to bed early because they had to be up early to go to work. So consequently, there were never any lights on in the neighborhood when he was taking his dog for a walk. Now, on this particular night, he was about 200 to 300 yards away from his house when his dog starts pulling on her leash and whimpering. Russo said he kept asking his dog, what was wrong when he heard a strange voice crying out. And he said it sounded like it was saying, Iwachu, Iwachu, Kier, Kier. Now, Russo said he had no idea where it was coming from or what it was. Then it emerged on the sidewalk and into the glow of a streetlight. Now, Russo initially thought it was some kid in a costume, and because of what time it was, and it was around the Halloween season, he yells out, "Hey, are you all right? Do you need any help?" Russo said it was calling him to come closer, stretching out its hand or paw, and motioning to him to come here.
And all I can picture is like E.T.
Yeah, exactly.
Little thing out on the sidewalk under the spotlight, of the glow of the street lamp.
With that weird voice.
Yeah, come here.
So it continues to say in a high-pitched voice, Iwachu, Kier, Kier. Russo said it was about 3 foot tall, covered in brown hair, had a pot belly, and it seemed to be rather old. And Russo thought it was kind of cute, and he wasn't afraid of it, but he noticed his dog was. So he felt that if the dog was afraid of it, then he should just stay clear of it, which...
That's a great
analogy
because dogs and animals sense evil.
Yeah. So he ignores it, which I just don't know how you could, but I understand he ignores it and continues on his walk. He looks back after walking a little bit and realizes it's gone.
Now, if you think about this is 1990, right?
Yeah.
And this is an older man.
Right.
He probably didn't have a cell phone.
Nope.
He didn't have any way to take a picture of this thing.
Nope.
So you have to go based on his word, because I know a lot of people would say, well, if you saw something like that, why wouldn't you just shoot a picture?
Back then we didn't have that.
Well, a cell phone in 1990 they did have a camera on it, but they were like...
And not a lot of them. I mean...
2 megapixel at best. So at night, you shoot something, you just have this grainy, nothing kind of a picture. So...
And I feel like back then, especially in the 90s, or in the early 90s, if you were lucky enough to have a camera on your phone, you were paying a lot of money for that phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't like... Because I remember even being in high school and getting the free Nokia... We always called it the brick phone.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could drop it and throw it against the wall and it wouldn't break. But that didn't have a camera.
No.
A lot of them didn't. So
most of them didn't. Only those really expensive, and I wouldn't even call it a flip phone, but the one that you could slide it up or something. It had the little ability to text or something on it.
Which you had to hit the button multiple times to get to the letter.
Yeah. Probably nuts. 300 different pushes just to say hello.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to call you.
Yeah.
So after he gets back home, he tells his wife what he had seen. And then he realized it was saying, "We want you, come here." So that Iwachu Kier Kier was almost like it didn't speak English, but it was trying to, "We want you, come here."
Kind of emulate something it's heard.
Yeah, like a toddler learning how to speak for the first time almost.
And then that makes sense because he says that the things like beckoning him, with that paw
motioning
or hand
him to come
or whatever
here.
It was. Kind of a, come here kind of a thing.
So, now he realizes that what he witnessed and spoke to was a Pukwudgie. And he's been, like you were saying earlier, interviewed numerous times about it regarding the sighting.
Yes. Now, in the video, he said that he had artists trying to draw what he was describing.
Mm-hmm.
And they would draw something, he would say, nope, didn't look like that. And then they would draw something else, and he's like, not quite, but you're getting close. And then they ultimately drew this picture of what were those little things, not the Wookiee, but
The
were
little
they
Ewoks.
Ewoks.
That's what I was thinking of when I'm reading the story. Yeah.
It kind of looked like a little Ewok or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's it. That's what I saw. On the back, it had like these, quills or something, but it was covered in fur, had this cute little face, fat little belly that, hung down over it. And the picture itself, which is out there on the internet, anybody wants to look it up, look up Bill Russo's Pukwudgie, and you'll see a picture or artist's rendition of what he thought he saw. Kind of looks like a little Ewok.
Yeah. And you got to assume that it was up to no good. Otherwise, why would the dog be scared of it?
Right. Dog's scared of it, and it's luring him to, he was going to take him to his death.
Because you got to assume he doesn't have a skittish dog if his dog is seeing it and he's like, well, since the dog, because my dog hates everybody that comes in our house. So I just assume that the dog's an idiot. But his dog, he's got to assume that if it's scared of it, it's not always scared of something it sees.
Right. And that was kind of his point, is the dog is socialized. It goes out on walks every day. It sees stuff, it sees animals. And he's never had an issue with the dog. It's never been afraid of anything. Now, all of a sudden, it's crying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point here, is the dog is whimpering. Dogs don't whimper unless they're scared of something.
Right.
Or injured or whatever. But, in this particular case, the dog's not injured. It just spots this little Pukwudgie, and it is terrified by it.
So, moving on, our next sighting. This took place March 1st of 2023. And it was a woman by the name of Mary who lived in Norwell, Massachusetts. She was taking care of a friend's Labrador Retriever. Now, the dog woke Mary up every morning between about 4 and 5 a.m. to go for a walk. And Mary usually took the dog to a small patch of woods near a swamp. Now, Mary and the dog went on these early morning walks for a few weeks without anything weird or strange happening. But on this day, it was a little different. So it was still dark outside, and as they walked on the road near the watershed, the dog stopped dead in its tracks and let out a low growl. So Mary, feeling nervous about being alone in the dark, looked around to see what had startled the dog. It wasn't a raccoon or a coyote. It was something, as she put, she would never forget. So
another case of a dog being terrified.
Exactly. And she's got a track record. Few weeks go by, nothing.
Yeah.
You got to assume that even though it's, that early in the morning, there might be someone else out walking every now and then, maybe a car drive by every now and then, and it's not bothering the dog. And now all of a sudden, the dog's upset.
And then you kind of have to wonder, was this just happenstance, or was this little thing checking her out for the last week?
Yeah, watching and stalking her.
Watching, stalking, and then chose its moment to make an appearance.
I'm going with that one.
Yeah.
So crouched near the woods was a small humanoid creature. It was covered in what looked like matted black fur. Now, Mary thought the creature stared at her with glowing green eyes. And there we go back to the glowing eyes. These things, their eyes always glow.
Yeah. And then as we get into it a little bit more, the green eyes is typical. So the sightings, everybody says they have green eyes.
Yeah. And the creature was something she had never seen before. So frightened, rightfully so, she and the dog ran home. Now, a few days later, the dog went home to its owner, and Mary thought that'd be the end of her terrifying encounter. But on the night of March 13th, Mary heard some strange sounds coming from outside her house. It sounded like something was quietly but insistently tapping on the side of her house, or possibly on the window.
Like the little gnome.
Like the little gnome. And this just kind of leads to your theory that it might have been stalking her.
Yeah.
Because it knows where she lives as well.
Yeah.
So it's probably been following her from the woodline. Now, at first, Mary thought maybe her daughter had locked herself out of the house, but that was not the case. Nervously, Mary's thought about the small humanoid she had seen near the woods. Was it outside her house, tapping on the walls and window? So she's starting to work herself up. Yeah, exactly.
And it did.
Yeah, exactly.
What else is out there tapping on her window?
So the next day, she talked with some people at work about what had been happening, and one of them suggested that she encountered a Pukwudgie.
Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. She saw the same thing that Russo did. It follows her home. Her dog was terrified.
You know what? She knows now it's not her daughter.
It's a Pukwudgie.
What else would tap?
A gnome.
Yeah. That's it.
But a Pukwudgie is kind of described similarly.
Yeah.
A gnome. Well, I mean, gnomes don't look like porcupines, but it's still a little humanoid thing, 2 to 3 feet tall. Probably can't even peek into the windows because it's too short. So it just taps and bangs as a torment.
And if it was a porcupine, it would scratch. It wouldn't sit there and tap like a person or a little goblin would.
Yeah, and more than likely it wasn't going to follow her home and stuff either.
Right.
So the next one, on a cold Saturday morning in April, and there was no accounting to what year that was, there was this woman named Joan, and she's walking her dog through the state forest in Freetown, Massachusetts, and she sees a Pukwudgie. So she describes this incident. She says her dog, named Sid, was walking down a path, and Sid became anxious and then strayed a few feet into the woods. Joan follows him in and stops just short of where her dog was lying completely flat in the leaves, and she notices on a rock about 10 feet away was a Pukwudgie. She describes him as looking like what you would describe as a troll. 2 feet high, pale gray skin, hair on his arms and the top of his head. It seemed to have no clothes, but she said it was kind of difficult to tell if it did or did not have clothes because its stomach hung so far over its waist it was almost touching his knees. So
there you go.
Back to the little pot-bellied gray skin.
Same as everybody else.
Same as everybody else.
And with the dog. Same exact
in a
response.
completely different area.
Yep.
She says his eyes were deep green in color, and he had large lips and a long, almost canine-type nose. So again, that's a Pukwudgie.
It is.
There's no doubt. So this Pukwudgie stood watching her, staring straight at her with no expression, almost like it was stunned to see her. So Joan froze, and she remembered that she could hardly breathe. She was gasping for air. She was so terrified by this thing.
Right.
Her dog finally comes to, and it runs back down the trail, dragging Joan, who's still holding his leash. And so I think one of the things about this particular story is in the other two, the dog was terrified.
Right.
In this one, dog passes out.
Yeah.
And so did it startle the Pukwudgie, and the Pukwudgie used its little mind control thing and put that dog to sleep, would be the question.
Right.
Why else would a dog just lay down and fall asleep?
Yeah.
It wouldn't.
Especially because it was acting a little weird right before it went off.
Because it saw it.
Yeah.
And then that little thing probably went, oh, there's another dog encounter.
Yep.
And so
put this guy to sleep.
I'm going to just put this little guy to sleep. I mean, that's what I believe happened.
Yeah. Here's the other thing too is it's not like Bigfoot, right? Where most people, whether you believe in him or not, know what a Bigfoot is, right?
Right.
These are people who have no idea what a Pukwudgie is, know nothing about it until they describe it to somebody else who knows about the lore, and they describe it exactly the same as everybody else does.
There's from different areas.
That
haven't been published. It wasn't like it was in the paper and somebody saw it and said, oh, you know what, I'm going to get some notoriety here and come up with the same story, even though I live 100 miles away.
You're not winding down at the end of the night, turning on Fox News and seeing something states over about Pukwudgie. No. So that's what makes these even more credible to me, is because these people don't know what this thing is, but they're seeing the same thing.
Although this incident took less than 30 seconds, it remains with Joan up to 10 years later here. She's never gone back to the forest. She was so terrified by it. But she feels like that might not be enough, just the avoidance of the forest, because she says that 3 times since this event, she's woken up to see that Pukwudgie looking in on her, peering through the windows.
Horrifying.
That's got to be terrifying.
That's horrifying.
But see, this follows the same story as Mary.
Yeah.
So even though Mary didn't see anything, the tapping on the outside of the house, tapping on the windows and things of that nature, that Pukwudgie followed her home. This Pukwudgie followed this gal home.
Yeah.
But this one's bold enough to stare in the window, and then she wakes up, sees that little Ewok-looking face peering in at her. I'm sorry, but that's got to be terrifying.
That's horrifying. Yeah, absolutely.
She says that this thing has never attacked her or spoken to her, and she's merely seen it looking through her bedroom window, and it stays there just long enough that it knows that she has noticed it, and then it leaves. So, who knows how long the little thing stood there waiting for her to
wake up,
to spot it.
Potentially, yeah.
But that's part of the torment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he could just look in on her and go, well, there she is, and leave.
Yeah.
But he chooses to stay until she spots him, and then he leaves. Well, that's just mental torture.
It's part of their mischief, yeah.
Yeah. She says all 3 times she claims that she was fully awake and she could move if she wanted to. And I think the only reason that she's saying that is it wasn't a dream.
So people aren't writing her off as a nut job.
Yes,
You're just scared of it, so you're having a nightmare. Or your sleep paralysis, so you're still asleep.
Exactly. So she's trying to clarify, I was fully awake and I could get up and walk out of that room if I wanted to, but his little face was peering in.
Yeah. So
I think you can chalk her up as a nut, or you could say her account is no different than everybody else's account.
Right.
And in the Russo case, the thing was trying to lure him away. In the other cases, these things follow them home. So I don't know. It's
hard to say.
It's hard to say what its little mission is, if it's just trying to torment, if it needs something, wants something, if it wants to kill them, or if it has, something nefarious planned for them.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say, but they're all seeing and experiencing the exact same thing with a description that is kind of unfaltering.
Right.
So it's got to be.
It's got to be.
It's just got to be. These people don't know each other and they live in different towns.
And don't know. That's again, not to beat a dead horse, but they don't know what a Pukwudgie is until people have told them after the fact.
Right.
So anyway, moving on. A man in Framingham, Massachusetts had an experience that forced him to remain away from the woods. Now, Tim was in a forest when he saw a bright orb in front of him. Having investigated the paranormal before, he was excited and tried to snap a photo with his digital camera. The ball of light disappeared and reappeared a few feet further into the woods. Now, Tim followed, losing the spirit several times before he realized he had traveled more than 30 feet off the path into a thickly wooded area. He became scared and slowly made his way back to the path, only to find a 2-foot-tall man standing there, walking toward him. He turned and ran, and looking back, saw the figure move back into the woods.
So this thing clearly was luring him into the woods using the orb ability that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
They can create fire or orbs. And I've seen a few accounts where people have seen these orbs in the forest and then seen a little creature.
And he did exactly what I would do. If I saw an orb floating there, I'd follow it.
You follow it, you try and take pictures of it.
And you probably wouldn't realize, for the most part, how far you've gone off trail. I wouldn't walk off the edge of a cliff following it, just being so out of it. But
you're fixated on this thing and walking, trying to get evidence of it.
Right. Now, Tim reported that what he saw had walked upright and had used its arms to push something aside when he fled to the forest. He had moved with a slight limp, but like a human. The second time Tim saw the Pukwudgies was a few years later in a parking lot near the same forest. He was listening to the radio at almost a whisper and checking his rearview mirror for the friend he was waiting for when he saw the same small figure of a man. Every detail was identical, and the Pukwudgie just stood there watching him. The car turned on by itself, and his radio began to get louder. Tim pulled out of the parking lot and took the long way home to try and stop his hands from shaking.
And again, the Pukwudgie's following these people that they've had encounters with.
Yep.
It continues to stalk them.
And to torment them.
Yeah. And then in this particular case, like the Bat Squatch, it was able to turn his car on.
Yeah, and mess with the radio.
Yeah. And so it does obviously have some form of thought control or electromagnetic capabilities or something.
Right.
That it can do to, well, I guess you could just say that it's magical.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think we can chalk all these people up as being nuts.
No.
I think they saw a Pukwudgie, the Pukwudgie, and I can't say this for certain, but the evidence here appears to be that if a Pukwudgie is seen by somebody, it continues to, I don't know if you want to use the term haunt, stalk, or what.
Right.
But why would they have multiple encounters with a Pukwudgie?
Yeah. Tim's, if you wanted to, you could say that Tim's was a coincidence because you went back to the same area. But with the other encounters of them following the person directly to their house, it's too coincidental.
Yeah.
For the Tim story. So to me, it's following all of them.
It's why they always say, like, if you think you're being followed, don't go home.
Right.
go like
Make
to a
some
police
turns.
station
Yeah.
or go somewhere else or whatever. And that would typically be for some creepy guy that's been following you or something.
Yeah.
You don't want him to follow you to your home. Now he knows where you live.
Right.
But in this particular case, it's a Pukwudgie.
Yeah.
And you don't want a Pukwudgie to know where you live either.
Definitely not.
I mean, if he's just going to play pranks on you, light a bag of cat poop and throw it on the porch and knock,
Yeah, it's hysterical.
that's one thing. It's hysterical, and you might think, oh, this crazy little Pukwudgie. But if he is there to kill you, I don't want him knowing where I live.
So Tim might have lucked out by taking the long way home to calm himself down.
Yeah.
Unknowingly.
Yeah, he probably did.
Because I don't know how far these things are going to travel to get.
Well, and if they can disappear and reappear, means to me that they can teleport.
Right.
So if they know where you live, I think they could get there quickly.
Right.
And disappear, reappear on your porch, tap on your windows like some little nest.
Asked to be let in, maybe, who knows?
Oh, or asked to be let in.
Yeah.
But these have green eyes instead of black eyes. So the irony behind all of this stuff, those specific accounts outline what these people experienced, but several people claim to have been assaulted, and one person actually had come down with this mysterious illness after seeing them in a cemetery in New Hampshire. And another woman suffered scratches on her arm after she followed an orb into the forest in Taunton, Massachusetts. So I don't care what kind of paranormal activity is going on. Something's going on.
Something's going on.
And that whole Bridgewater Triangle area obviously is a hotbed of activity. But if a Pukwudgie can use an orb to lure you in, I don't know why he just scratched her instead of doing more to her, unless it's just a form of torment.
Right.
Just, hey, we're here. There's
Look
the
what
evidence.
I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but these people, there's a lot of people that have reported not necessarily seeing one, but encountering these types of paranormal type activities, throughout the area. And if a Pukwudgie can disappear and it's known to use light orbs to lure you in,
Right.
then some of these instances are probably Pukwudgies.
Yeah.
So the most disturbing and recurring attacks take place in what's believed to be the Pukwudgie's favorite hunting ground. I guess hunting for people, right?
Right. Yeah. And little kids.
Is in the Freetown State Forest. Now, there's a lot of information out there on the Freetown State Forest area. But there is this specific area that has an 80-foot cliff overlooking an old quarry, and it's known as the Assinet Ledge. And there's been many, many hauntings at this particular site, but the most frequent experience that people have is this overwhelming feeling to jump to the rocks and the water below. Now, I don't know that you can attribute that to a Pukwudgie. I remember years ago, I don't know if you've ever experienced that feeling, but I was at Hoover Dam and standing up at the top of the bridge of Hoover Dam and looking over. This was when you had water high on one end, but the dam wasn't open. So on the other side of the dam, it was just this massive cement swooping drop. And I remembered the sensation of feeling like I wanted to fall over the edge of that thing. Have you ever experienced that? Like, have you ever been on an area that's so high? The old UCB building in downtown Los Angeles, it's not called that anymore, I don't think. 62 stories high or whatever it was. And my uncle took me to the top of that when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember standing up on the top, and you can actually feel the building swaying from the wind. And looking over the edge, I always have that feeling of either that I'm going to fall or that I want to fall.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's just a classic human feeling.
Right.
Or if it's something spiritual that's trying to lure you into doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to that.
See, now, are they, because I know what you're talking about, that feeling. Are they talking that feeling, or is it more of a darker feeling of you want to end it, so you want to jump?
I'm thinking,
because I know that sensation of
yes,
like, oh,
I'm thinking in this particular case, it is a feeling of darkness and an actual like suicidal thought.
Because I've had the feeling you're talking about, but never the dark one that I think they're talking about.
Yeah. But sometimes people describe things so differently that I just wonder if it's taken out of context or not. But as the story goes, in the folklore of the Wampanoag, the Pukwudgies are known to lure people to those cliffs and push them off to their death. And they're often associated with putting thoughts in your head, as we discussed earlier. Well, what they're saying here is that there's been several unexplained suicides at that particular ledge, often by people who had no signs of depression or mental illness before entering into the forest. That would be according to family members. But
right.
I don't know how much you can put lock, stock in that.
Right.
Some people don't know, right? In the case of Robin Williams and stuff.
Yeah, everyone would say he's the happiest person alive.
Happy person, great comedian, great impressionist, and then he kills himself because he's really just in this dark place. Was it a Pukwudgie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows?
You never know. But along with those intentional suicides are accidental deaths, slips and falls,
which happen a lot.
That ledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it says that some people have actually reported the feeling of being pushed by an unseen force. Now, they weren't pushed over the edge, but they felt they were being nudged to go over that cliff. And that was their experience, was they felt that there was something behind them pushing them towards that ledge. I'm not sure if these stories can be debunked or not, but doing the research, when they say several suicides, several unexplained deaths, I can't leave it at that, right? I want to see how many.
Yep.
So you type in, well, how many deaths are at Assonet Ledge? Well, there's 2 confirmed ones. There were 2 suicides. There was one guy that fell. That's 3. 3 is not several to me.
Right.
Several means like several, 10, 15, 20, like a lot. And I could find no evidence other than 2 people. I was going to put their names in here, and I just decided not. It's immaterial at this point.
Right.
2 people jumped to their death. 1 fell to their death in the last 20 years. I don't consider that several. And there's no accounting of what people came forward to say that they felt that they were being lured or pushed. Nobody's come out with, I'm Joe Blow, and on this date, that happened. So even though this is being said, it could be one of those, when they say kind of things. They say this, and it's like, who's they? Well, I don't know who said it.
Someone probably did.
Somebody probably did. And well, what's the details behind it? Well, there aren't any.
Right.
So this could all just be made up stuff, other than the fact that we know 3 people died at that ledge in the last 20 years. Were they pushed? Did they jump? Were they lured? Nobody's going to know because they're dead.
Yeah, can't ask them.
So for the purposes of this podcast, those are Pukwudgie deaths.
100%. Yep. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely no doubt about it. And I mean, no disrespect to the families
of course not,
that lost somebody, but I almost think that I would rather believe that a Pukwudgie pushed them than that they jumped.
Right.
I would hate to ever have a family member commit suicide because I would always wonder, is there something I could have done to help?
Of course, yeah.
But if a Pukwudgie pushed you,
there's nothing you can do.
I can't do anything about that.
We can go hunt them down.
Yeah. You might be able to hunt the Pukwudgie down.
At least that one.
Might be tapping on your window for weeks after.
Yeah.
You never know. And again, I don't mean to make light of it, but is there Pukwudgies? Are there not Pukwudgies? I don't know. I'm going to say there are. And let's get into why.
Let's do it.
The explanation of a Pukwudgie by skeptics, why you're simply misidentifying a porcupine.
Of course, yeah.
Porcupines have been known to stand on their hind legs and they walk bipedally.
Yep.
And that's true. I've seen video of it.
I've fed a porcupine that's stood on its hind legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A porcupine can be 2 to 3 feet tall.
Yep.
And they do match the description of a Pukwudgie.
Yeah.
They have the little snout. I don't know about their green eyes. I don't think I've seen a green-eyed.
I didn't. The one I fed wasn't green-eyed.
Yeah. Most sightings have occurred during the evening or nighttime hours. Well, porcupines are abundant in Massachusetts. They live in forested areas as well as rocky terrain, and they are known to be a solitary animal and nocturnal. Mm-hmm. So it makes perfect sense that if a porcupine is 2 to 3 feet tall, mm-hmm. he's got the snout.
Yep.
He might have a little pot belly. if he eats a lot.
Sure.
He definitely has the quills. He is out there at night. He's by himself, but I've never seen a porcupine with a spear.
And one that goes, Iwaku, kia. Yeah, I've never, and motions for you to come over.
I don't think I've ever seen a talking porcupine or a armed porcupine.
That follows you home.
That follows you home, taps on your windows.
Yeah, and watches you sleep.
So I am going to personally rule out porcupines.
Yeah.
And that's
it. That's it. It's not, yeah. There's nothing else to it.
Now, in Native American lore, they believe that the Pukwudgie is a magical spiritual being, kind of like we've described European gnomes and fairies and nymphs and water babies and all the different little creatures that are out there. But I don't believe that you can rule out, and here it goes, right?
Yeah, they're going to, yep.
People are going to just go, these two
every time
jobs. I don't believe you can rule out demons or some form of an evil spirit.
Right, especially because that's what they are.
I believe so. And the reason why I believe this is because while doing research on that Bridgewater Triangle area, I found some fascinating stuff. And I don't know if we have to go through all of it, but I'm just going to briefly state that in 1978, there's a 15-year-old girl, Mary Lou Arruda. She was found tied to a tree and left for dead. She was dead. They found her body a couple months after she was reported missing. Some guy by the name of James Cater was ultimately convicted, and he ended up dying in prison. His attorney claimed the entire time that he was not the murderer, that it was a satanic cult that killed this girl. That was never proven.
Right. So
this guy was convicted and ultimately passed away. Yet about a year later, in October of 1979, a 17-year-old girl, Doreen Levesque, was murdered, and her body was found under the bleachers of a high school in Fall River. No person ever convicted in that case. November of 79, 19-year-old Barbara Raposa murdered, body not found until January 26th of 1980. There was this guy by the name of Andy Maltese, and he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for her murder. February 8th of 1980, a 20-year-old girl, Karen Marsden, was murdered, and portions of her skull were found in April of 1980, but her body was never actually recovered. Multiple people were charged in her murder, but only this guy by the name of Carl Drew and a girl by the name of Robin Murphy were convicted. Now, the connection to all of this, the only reason I go over these murders, is because at least those last three girls, and it's believed that the first girl as well, they were involved in a satanic cult and a prostitution ring. So all three of these girls were prostitutes. And this guy, Carl Drew, that was convicted, was the cult leader and had actually declared himself the son of Satan. He ordered the murders of the girls, and this Robin Murphy that was convicted, she said she was under a satanic spell. In the murder of that Mary Lou, it was never actually proven who killed her, but the attorney claims that it was part of that cult as well. So these murders became collectively known as the Fall River Cult murders. And in 1980, police found a structure in the Freetown Forest where satanic rituals were being practiced. Though that structure is no longer there, it's been torn down, it was known as the Carl Drew Shack or the Ice Shack, where all this satanic activity was occurring. And the number 666 and pentagrams were found written on rocks and trees throughout that entire area. Well, I don't know how many times we've talked about cryptids in certain areas where satanic activity has been occurring.
And it's weird how they pop up after that stuff's been occurring.
Yes. Now, in this particular case, if we go back to the Wampanoag people, I don't know what year they came up with the story of Mashop and the death of these little Pukwudgies and whatnot. It was probably in like the 1800s or something. But what I do know is that demons are intelligent creatures.
Right.
right? They know your past. They know your future. They've been watching people. They know their future. The only person they fear is Jesus Christ.
Right.
And they know what's going to happen to them in the end. They're hoping for a better outcome. But if they know about the stories of the Pukwudgie, why would they not take on the appearance of a Pukwudgie and haunt these forests and hurt and torment people?
Exactly.
To me, that makes more sense that it is something like a demonic entity.
It's putting thoughts in people's heads. It's making them feel certain ways. It's
right.
torturing them psychologically. That's the MO of a demon right there.
It's way different than a walking porcupine.
Right.
Right? Who doesn't have or possess those abilities. So my personal take on it, again, is that these are some form of a demonic entity.
Yep.
Especially since all the satanic activity of the 70s and 80s occurred in that particular region. And now this whole area is just tormented by paranormal activity. People love to say, oh, they're ghosts and it's the Walking Dead and it's this and that. I believe that it's just evil is what it is. And it got summoned up by a bunch of Satan worshipers in a shack out in the middle of this Bridgewater area. And now here they are, released on Earth and roaming around and taking the form of Pukwudgies.
Yeah.
And other things. I mean, supposedly Bigfoot and UFOs and aliens and light orbs and all kinds of things have been seen in that particular area. And I don't think any of that is anything other than evil.
Right.
So there it is. That's my take, and I'm sticking with it.
I mean, good things don't lure people to their deaths.
No.
Evil does.
That's right.
Good things don't put bad thoughts in your head. Evil does.
Right.
I mean, it just fits.
It fits perfectly.
Yeah.
And because there was all that satanic activity there, where better a place to be
Right.
than people that are summoning you and worshiping the Prince of Darkness.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
It's pretty straightforward.
So, modern day popularity, and when I say modern day, I just mean from like the 1800s on, Pukwudgie makes its first appearance in 1855 when Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote the Song of Hiawatha. It's a poem, right? I don't know if you've ever read it. It's long, but it outlines the life of this Ojibwe warrior and the tragic conclusion of his love for Minnehaha, who was a Dakota woman, and she ended up dying from starvation in a brutal winter. But Hiawatha has a friend by the name of Kwasind, and his encounter with this Pukwudgie ended in his death because the only thing that could kill Kwasind was the seed cone of a pine tree and the blue cone of a fir tree. And the Pukwudgies knew that secret. They gathered up piles of that stuff. They lied in wait for him, and they ambushed and killed him. And so they are actually referred to as a Pukwudgie in Longfellow's poem.
It's perfect.
Pukwudgies appear in much more recent pop culture, like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. And even though it's not actually like in the movie and stuff, it is referred to. J.K. Rowling referred to Pukwudgies in one of the four houses of Livermorning, the Hogwarts American counterpart. And they're also considered to be like the providers of security and maintenance and whatnot in that series.
Okay.
Like in the movie, they're not there.
Right.
But in writings, he talks about the Pukwudgies.
Yeah.
But they're actually good little things in Harry Potter. They're not the little evil ones that are out there stealing children, throwing sand in your eyes and killing you. There's multiple movies about Pukwudgies. There's Freak Encounters had a Pukwudgie episode. That was in 2010. There's still in pre-production right now. There's a movie called The Ledge, Curse of the Pukwudgie, which I'm sure is going to be about the Assonet Ledge and the suicides and the deaths. It does say that it's about a serial killer that is connected to a satanic cult and targets some police officer's family, and that a Pukwudgie ends up being in that show.
Got to watch that when it comes out.
You have to, because what is that? It just literally said what we said.
Yeah.
It's about a serial killer who's a Satanist who conjures up a Pukwudgie,
It's perfect.
Basically to kill this police officer. Chasing Legends in 2021 was a documentary that investigated reports of Pukwudgies. And then, of course, as I said, like the Harry Potter series and stuff has reference to Pukwudgies as well. Now, The one cool thing is there's a place in Indiana. It's called the Mounds State Park. And in October of 2022, they actually hosted a little Pukwudgie themed nighttime nature hike. And they called it the Pukwudgie Glow Hike.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, they handed out glow sticks, and then you got to walk through the forest looking for Pukwudgies, basically. That would have been fun.
Until your entire group is tragically murdered by...
Yeah, when you find out 35 people have fallen to their death at some cliff that, they didn't know existed.
The Pukwudgies moved the flags for the trail to walk off the cliff or something.
Exactly. Those darn little Pukwudgies. Anyway, I think that's all we've got on Pukwudgies. I thought the Wampanoag story was great. You can shoot as many holes as you want through it. It's still just a fun story to tell. Pukwudgies clearly exist.
Yeah, because if you think about it, just because the story of how they started that was made up by that tribe sounds made up and fake, it doesn't take away from the fact that those little sons of guns are still out there.
They're out there.
Running around causing havoc.
Following you home, tapping on your windows and stuff. No doubt in my mind that little creature exists and they're evil.
Yep.
So
there's nothing else
if
to
you
it.
run across a Pukwudgie, don't stare at it. Just walk away from it. You're probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
I did look up how to defend yourself against a Pukwudgie. It's actually out there on the internet. People have their opinion of what to do. Bottom line is, don't follow it because you're going to end up dead. Ignore it, walk away from it, and you're probably going to be fine. And if it shows up peering in your windows and whatnot, ignore it. Because all it wants you to do is follow it so that it can lure you to something horrible.
Yeah.
So just don't. Leave it alone. Stare at it if you want for a second and then move on. But that's the only way to do it. They say if you do follow it or if you try and engage it in some fashion, it's not going to end well for you. Unless you're in the Great Lakes region. And then it's probably just going to pull a trick on you.
Yeah.
Do something silly. But if you're in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, stay away from the Pukwudgies. That's the bottom line. Although I am going to go look for one.
You have to.
I'm going to this Bridgewater Triangle.
You have to.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. And if I see an orb, I'm going to follow it for a while. I'm going to take pictures of it. If I turn around, there's a Pukwudgie, so be it.
Just make sure you're recording.
I will.
And not the shaky,
right.
Keep it together.
No, it's got to be a good one.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got anything else, Jake?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. I think our next episode is going to be on the mysterious Ouija board.
Yeah.
Now, that one, of course, is nothing but evil.
That's all it is.
But we're going to go over some of the rules of a Ouija board and some of the horrifying things that have been that have transpired over the years with Ouija boards.
And the main rule is just don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's just don't do it.
It's a tool.
It's not funny
of
or
the
fun.
devil.
Yeah.
It's not a joke. And even though I don't even know who sells it, I'll have to look it up. Hasbro or whoever.
Yeah.
Whoever makes the Ouija board
go get
now,
them at Target. Yeah.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble. But we're going to go over all the details of the Ouija board. Stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the show and you want to help us out, then go ahead and give us a follow, leave us a review, and don't forget to turn on the automatic download button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And as always, if you've had any experiences, stories, thoughts, comments, or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to cryptidfanatic@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to be on the show or just have your story featured during one of our episodes.